Hi there, Stampers. It's Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. I'm here today with our Monday Live. And normally we do a fun fold card, but I've been working on my 3D tutorial book and I haven't done one in a long time. So with Valentine's Day coming up, I thought this would be a fun time to do a little 3D gift box. And I'm excited to show you how it's done. Okay, so this little gift box is made using the Endless Love bundle that we've been playing with quite a bit lately. And the top lifts off and it holds little Hershey Kisses on the inside. So this is what we're going to be making today. It does have two little gift tags. You can do a to and from. And to get started, what we're going to need is two hearts that are die cut using that large die cut out of a cardstock. And I happen to choose Flirty Flamingo. And then I'm using a designer series paper. So this is the Made with Love designer series paper. I'm just looking for one where I've punched out all the little holes. So if you have a die set where they have hearts that doesn't have the little holes, you might want to use that one. But I did need the large size for this. So I have two of the cardstock and two of the designer series paper. The box part in the middle is going to be two strips of, this is real red cardstock. Again, I'm pulling from the designer series paper. This first piece, which is going to be our bottom, is 1 3/8 by 8.5. And then I have another one that is 1 1/4 by 8.5, and that's going to be our top. Okay, this one is the top is scored just a little bit different than the bottom one because I needed to go a little bit extra. So the bottom one is scored at 1 inch, 3.5, and 6. Okay, so it's basically every 2.5 inches. Now this one I scored at a little over. Okay, so if I went this way, this will make more sense. If I turn it over, I scored at 2.5, 5, and 7.5. Okay, so it's every 2.5 inches. For this one, I went a little titch over, so it's right in between the 2.5 and the 5/8. So it's like barely over the 2.5. Okay, just a hair over 2.5. So not even 1/8 of an inch. Then I moved that down and went just a hair over 2.5 and then just a hair over 2.5. So let's see, because I just wanted it to be able to slide over the top of the bottom one. So let's see, so we're this way. So I scored at 2.5. And then I went, or just over 2.5. Like I said, look at how tiny that is. It's just a little bit over. There we go. Just a little bit over 2.5. Then I'm going to move this to the 2.5 line, and I'm going to be just a little bit over. And then I'm moving the next score line over to the 2.5, and I'm going just a hair over. So you following what I'm doing there? So it's like not even a 1/16 of an inch. It's just a hair over, because when we fold these up, I want one to slide down over the top. So the distance between these two and these two, this is smaller than this one so that it slides over. Does that make sense? So they're not really exact measurements. Like I said, it's on the bottom, it's 2.5, 5, and 7.5. And then I laid it in my trimmer and I did it at a little over 2.5, slid that over, a little over 2.5, slid it over, and a little over 2.5. So my tabs, you can see the difference. They started out the same length, but by the time we, did our little adjustments with our score lines, it's just got this tiniest little difference. But that'll make more sense as we work on this. Okay, then I'm going to come in. I've scored it at 1.25 from the edge over here. And then I made a point to mark top and bottom, since remember the top one was just a little bit bigger. I want to make sure I keep that as the top and keep this as the bottom. And then we're going to just burnish our score lines. Using the bone folder. And anytime I'm burnishing score lines, I'm making sure that I'm flushing up the top one with that, because I would not want it askew at all as I'm burnishing over here. I want to make sure that that is flush with my edge. And I made a little bit of a tear, but that's going to be okay. We're gluing that down, so it'll all be good. So is everybody braving the weather? Kathy said, Kay says she's snowed in. Patricia says it's snowy in Texas. We actually have not gotten any snow in Idaho. I mean, not much, which is really rare. It's kind of abnormal. We should have snow by now, so I'm sure they'll be screaming drought anytime now. But it is very, very cold. Like, it's been in the teens and 20s, kind of cold. Just no precipitation. Okay, so I'm taking and making a little triangle wedge where each of the score lines is. Okay, so where that is, I'm coming a little bit to the left and going up at an angle, and a little bit to the right and going up at an angle, and wedging out a triangle. I also want to remind everybody I have that card making summit going on this week. It's going to happen the 28th. They'll do their kickoff, and then it's going to be the 29th, 30th, and 31st. And I am just one of over 30 different demos that will be doing card making ideas. Mine is going to be taking a simple card and turning it into a fun fold. There's going to be some coloring demonstrations, some techniques, some mass producing, kind of a little bit of everything. And it's a free ticket for the 3 days, unless you want to have extended use. Almost all of those things. If you want to access it for long after the event has ended, there is an upgraded fee you can pay. But for the most part, it is a free 3-day seminar with over 30 demonstrations. And I can get you a free ticket into that. So it's all over my newsletter, Facebook feed, Instagram, all of those things. But of course, I can also put it into the description. Just realized that's stuck. Normally I keep like a hat pin, or a quilting pin to stick it down into the hole, and apparently I don't have that on my desk. I left that on my desk last night with the cap off of it. Not a smart move. So we'll go ahead and use tear and tape. But anyway, I invite you to attend this card making seminar. It's going to be a blast. there are the pre-recorded demonstrations, and then there's going to be some live Q&A and just lots of fun stuff going on. And it's all focused on using up your stash. So here is the other side. And you see how, remember I said I put the top and bottom in there, and I wrote on it? We're never going to see that because that's the part I'm gluing down. Okay. Oh, and I guess I could have cut this last little bit, could have come all the way off. So it would have looked like this. There we go. So there is our top and bottom, and they're going to fit nicely together. So I'm going to take my hearts and let's get those glued together. Let's try this one. This is the My Sweet Petunia glue press, and it is excellent for those that have trouble getting just a little bit of glue out of the bottle or have arthritis, because it doesn't take very much pressure and it allows you to do super thin little lines. But I want to make sure that I am gluing around the edge. And then I almost always have a little hand wipe or a baby wipe to clean any excess glue off my hands. This would also be good to apply with a sponge dauber or using adhesive sheet on the designer series paper. There's any numbers of ways to get small amounts of glue onto your project, but that's the key, is you want all the way to the edge and just a small amount so that it's not oozing out the edges. And then you're going to choose which one's going to be your bottom. And then we're going to put adhesive on that little 1/4 inch that we folded over. And I'm kind of sticking this point down into the point of my heart. And then I'm having this top point go left to right. And I'm kind of centering it. The thing about these hearts is they are not symmetrical. So one side is kind of bigger than the other. So it's a little lopsided, but it still works. And then you would just put some pressure down on those little 1/4 inch pieces so that the glue adheres. And then I'm going to just slide this over the top. And let's put that under. Okay. And then I'm going to put some more glue on this top piece. And then I'm going to take my heart and I'm going to kind of look at it head on, and I'm trying to align my heart so that my scoops are, going the same way. And then I'm going to sit and let that dry a little bit. And then we can pull it off and press down on that. So that's going to be the top and bottom of our box. And then I've got some other hearts that I have die cut. So there's a white one and a flirty flamingo. And I'm going to use these as my tags on the front. I've also die cut an arrow out of real red and an XO out of white. So hugs and kisses. And you can save the little heart that popped out of the middle of the O, because we can still use that on our project. And then I wanted the arrow to look like it was going through the heart. And so I wanted it to have a little slit in the middle. So I couldn't find my little tips to my take your pick tool. There are tips that go on this that turn it into an X-Acto knife. But then I took the X-Acto knife and just kind of cut a slit about as big as the head of my arrow, because I want the head to go through there, but I don't want it a lot bigger than that. So I'm just carefully cutting 2 slits. Okay, and then I want to go underneath it. There we go. So now that looks like Cupid's arrow, right? It's got the little piece through the middle. And then to cover up the slit, I'm going to place my little letters right over that. So I'm going to put my O on one side of the slit, and then I'm going to put the X on the other. And you can use your fingers, or I will often put it like on the tip of that, so I can kind of get my fingers out of the way for easier placement. And of course we could do a few rhinestones or pearls, juice that up a little bit. And then on this one, I wanted the to and from. So I'm going to bring in some Flirty Flamingo ink. And I lined up to and from on the lines on my grid paper, so that I could put the edge of the T and F here, and then underneath the word on each line, so that I am square on that. So there we go. And then I have a piece of white baker's twine that I just, let's see, what have I got here? I think I started out with about 6 inches. I just cut off a random length. And I'm going to feed the 2 ends through the holes in the tag. And then I'm going to take this loop and I'm going to pull the ends through that loop. So that's going to fasten the 2 of them together. And I'm going to put adhesive on the back of my white heart, and then I'm just going to kind of arrange them on the front. So this one slides out of the way, so you might want to sign your name before attaching it to the box. And then I just made a small little bow, using this really small bubble bath ribbon. And this is my bow maker tool. It's on my website. My husband makes them. He's a cabinet maker by trade, so he's really good with the wood stuff. Okay, and then to apply that to my project, I'm going to just bring in my mini glue dots. And I'm going to set the knot on the top of the little dot, but I'm also taking the tails and I'm making the tails touch the bottom of the glue dot. So that will keep them hanging, low. And then that goes right there. Then the only thing we need is chocolate. So over here I have some Hershey Kisses that we can just load into here. And then we can take our top of our box and place that right on the top. And I kind of just, come on, sit. I took the bottom point and I put that in and then eased on the top. So I started with one corner and then worked the other ones. So there is our heart-shaped Valentine's Day treat box. Okay, so thank you for everyone for being here and hanging out. Are 3D projects something you're interested in? Are you more here for the cards? I always like your feedback. I always like it too if you come across another card that you have seen that you want to know how to make. I am more than happy to create that for you. Just to send me a picture or a link, and I can do that for you. I'm trying to copy this link to the thing. It's probably going to give me a Facebook deal, huh? Yep, it gave me a Facebook link, not the link that I wanted. Okay, so I'm going to go get the Stash Summit link. If you want to hang out for that, hang out. If you don't, thank you for being here, and I will see you on Thursday when we're going to make the another little treat. Only this one's on the simpler side because it's a Thursday. So this is another way that we can decorate up little Hershey Kisses. And then that's going to be so quick that I'm also going to do a little Merci holder as well. So 2 projects for tomorrow. Or for Thursday, sorry. I should have had this link pulled up ahead of time. I'm sorry. Oh, come on. Okay, Nancy says she's going to make this box, and somebody else said they like 3Ds. Oh, good. That's awesome. I'm glad you like what we did. And there is the link if you want to join me for the card making summit and go grab your free ticket. Thanks so much. See you on Thursday. Bye.